It is a bittersweet time as we close out this year at 2822 News.
That's right. Two members of the team with more than 80 years combined experience are retiring from the TV industry. 2822 News reporter Mark Hiller looks back on the careers of both men who have been fixtures at WBRE and WYOU.
Now, do you want the 28 or the 22?
Oh, well, that's a tough question.
Dave Becker and Bob Bradley could make their work seem like a piece of cake. More than 8 decades of combined experience can fool a person that way. But to get so good at their jobs did not just happen overnight. Bradley began acquiring his experience inside this building in 1979 as a master control operator and newscast director.
This is Eyewitness News with anchor Keith Martin.
He already had several years under his belt by 1985 when Sandy Wisniewski first began working with him.
Guy's got long hair, he's standing behind the switcher, he's smoking, he's drinking a can of Coke, and he's got no shoes on.
Quite a first impression. But Bradley would go on to impress in many other ways, rising to the head of WBRE WYOU's commercial department.
The man, the myth, the legend. You know, he taught us everything we know.
Becky Stitzer worked closely with Bradley beginning in the 1990s.
He's just one of these people that knows everything, and you can rely on him for any live event, the telethons, the parades, every commercial. You even hear his voice on TV. He would voice his own commercials. We've relied on him for everything. We ask his opinion, his advice, and I don't know what I'm going to do without him.
It's not just co-workers he impressed. Jack Wise took his customer decorating business commercial needs to Bradley for the past quarter century.
Just his knowledge. You know, he goes to different seminars and he always comes back with something new.
He's excellent at directing, producing, writing, editing, shooting. Does it all.
Of all the things Bradley has done, it's creating commercials he enjoyed the most.
Some of it's objective, but a lot of it is subjective, and when you can really put your own twist on something.
Dave Becker shifted his broadcasting career from radio to television news in 1986. The path to newscast producer took him from TV news assignment editor and production assistant to even sideline reporter.
Now, if the Crusaders have any chance of winning this one, their defense has to knuckle down in the second half to win this conference game.
As his news writing and producing career evolved, so too did technology. Clunky typewriters and color-printed scripts gave way to keyboards and digital copy.
We had to tape the scripts together and run them through a prompter by hand. Now everything is obviously is computerized. Everything is much faster, which makes it a lot better. I mean, we're able to pump things out much more quickly now.
Becker produced newscasts which included some of the biggest stories of the day, including the 1995 Oklahoma City bombing, the 9/11 terror attacks, and the 2011 Wyoming Valley flood evacuation.
We do shine in those moments. Even though they're difficult and it's a struggle, we put on our best face and make sure that everyone's informed and needs to know what they need to know.
Jane Ann Bugda has worked alongside Becker during his 37-plus years in the newsroom.
Sometimes we'll think back for something and we'll start laughing because we'll remember something from, the late 80s, the 90s, 2000.
She credits his calming personality with helping make the newsroom a pleasant place to work.
He has a lot of patience and he's very intelligent. And the other thing is Dave has a great sense of humor.
As Becker gives way to the next generation of news producers, he offers one bit of advice: stick with it.
It's hard at sometimes, but it also can be very satisfying. And you meet a lot of great people, and I've been fortunate and blessed to have met some wonderful people since I've been here.
Yes, it's the end of an era at Northeastern Pennsylvania's longest-running television station.
I'm really going to miss you, Bob. Take care. Have a great retirement.
Congratulations to both of you guys. It was my honor working with both of you for a long time.
Thank you.
So long, Dave and Bob.
Thank you.
No, thank you. It won't be the same without you. Mark Hiller, 2822 News.
And we wish Dave and Bob a long and healthy retirement. They earned every second of it.
Absolutely. Thanks for your work and all the memories. And I know it's a good day when I can make Dave laugh. Dave sits about 3 feet from me, and if I can make him just a good belly laugh,
yes,
right across the newsroom, that's I've done my job.
Miss that the most for sure.
Could a real Christmas tree boost your mental health? Coming up on 2822 News.
So give us a little history. When did you start here, and how did you start here?
I started in August of 1987, and I worked at a radio station. Andy Mahalchik and I worked at competing radio stations, and he told me about a job open here. He was working here, and I was able to get a weekend assignment desk job and a production assistant job.
Was that your goal, David?
Yeah, it was. I was excited at the time. It was it was a big step for me. I was working 7 days a week because of it, but that's the way it went.
So you were what, fresh out of college, or just?
No, I was working in radio for probably 2 years at that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
What do you remember about from then to now? I mean, I know technology changed the whole world.
Technology completely different. We were using 300-pound electric typewriters on the desk. We had to tape the scripts together and run them through a prompter by hand. Now everything is obviously is computerized. Everything is much faster, which makes it a lot better. I mean, we're able to pump things out much more quickly now. Get news on as it's happening, literally.
So how many years was that?
37.
7 years.
Yeah.
Where do you see it going next?
Well, obviously, we're moving towards the digital is becoming increasingly important at our website at pahomepage.com. We're seeing a huge amount of traffic there, and it's probably only going to grow from here.
What would you tell your young version, like a fresh kid fresh out of college right now, the young Dave Becker? What would you tell him?
Wow, that's a tough question, Tony. Stick with it, and it's hard at sometimes, but it's also can be very satisfying, and you meet a lot of great people, and I've been fortunate and blessed to have met some wonderful people since I've been here.
Any crazy moments, fun moments?
Yeah, but I can't talk about those. Well, certainly, I mean, there are the huge news events, the Challenger explosion, for example, the 9/11, an awful day. I mean, we all had a pit in our stomachs. It was so awful. Obviously, we'll never forget that. The day we had to evacuate the entire building because of flooding fears in the Wyoming Valley, and then we proceeded to go nonstop for 2 days covering it. It was satisfying, and I mean, but we were in it with everybody else too. We were evacuating our families and evacuating our homes. But the people were the people that are fun and good to be with, and I will miss them dearly.
I always felt we shine more than the competition when those Armageddon things happen. I really think we come together, step up our game. You feel that same way?
I would completely agree with you. Our staff, when the times are tough, everybody comes together, and to use your word, we do shine in those moments, even though they're difficult and it's a struggle. We put on our best face and make sure that everyone's informed and needs to know what they need to know.
And we always had a strong anchor. I mean, my dealing was with Keith Martin. Prior to that, you started with who now?
When I first started here, it was Vic Vetters. Very good anchor. Keith Martin, I mean, he's a legend. I love working with Nick and Candace. I couldn't ask for a better group of people to work with. They're wonderful.
Anything else you'd like to say? I mean, I think we touched on some key things.
Good luck, everybody. I'll be watching.
And critiquing?
And critiquing.
Mark Hiller's looking at this
All right,
now.
Mark Hiller, make me look good.
He always does.
Come on, birthday buddy. I don't like being on TV.
As Mark would say, the hardest question first. Who are you? Say and spell your name.
Oh.
We're either Becky or Rebecca for this.
You could say Becky.
Okay.
Becky. STITZER. I have to think about it for a minute.
Creative Services Director? Plural.
Creative Services Director.
We always get that mixed up sometimes.
Yeah.
It's plural.
Plural.
So, We're talking about Bob Bradley.
Bob Bradley.
You and Bob worked together for a long time, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Well, do I have to say how long I've worked here? When I first started working here, I worked here in the art department, and my office was right outside Bob's office, and people used to think I was his secretary. And then they would come in, and they'd be like, "Do you know where Bob is?" And I'd say, "I don't know where Bob is." And it was just this ongoing thing. But he was in the commercial production department just like he is now, and you know, the man, the myth, the legend. You know, he taught us everything we know. I've always relied on him for any sort of advice, any sort of expertise that he has. He just knows everything, and you always knew you could rely on him. He's just one of these people that knows everything, and you could rely on him for any live event, the telethons, the parades, every commercial. You even hear his voice on TV. He would voice his own commercials. We've relied on him for everything. We ask his opinion, his advice, and I don't know what I'm going to do without him. I mean, this department relies on him heavily.
He's here since when? 78? I forget.
On our Coats for Kids Day, work day just happened to remind me that it was his 44th anniversary. So that was October 4th, and it was his 44th anniversary.
I can't do the math, so we're talking what, 78, 79? So that was right around the Albrecht era.
44 years. Yeah, would that be 79?
Okay.
Would it?
Yeah, because Albrecht's here since 78. I remember him telling me that.
Yeah.
They were around the same time. How do you replace someone with 44 years of experience? Like you said, you go to these events, which I'm rarely with you guys, but he has it down to a science because he's done it so many times.
This institutional knowledge. And yeah, he just does it. It's muscle memory. And he sets up for every parade, and it's perfect, and it works. And now we have to find our way without his guidance and without him here.
Like I said the few times I'm with you guys, everything goes smooth when Bob's there. Right?
Everything goes smoothly when Bob's there. He just knows what to do, and if there's ever an emergency or something breaks, or he just swoops right in and fixes it, and it's smoothless, it's seamless.
Sure.
A lot of remote PA Live segments, shows, full shows, the Bloomsburg Fair, the Children's Miracle Network telethons that would last for days, the St. Patrick's Parade in Scranton. And he's done everything here. I mean, he's told me how he used to direct the news. I just learned that he worked in master control for a little bit. He's made countless commercials. He has so many friends that were clients that he would look forward to when they came in to help edit the commercials and oversee what he was making for them. He would go out for lunch with whoever showed up that wanted to go through their commercial with him. We've had a lot of lunch dates together. He's taught us everything we know. Everything I know, I've learned from him. Our former colleague, Tony Del Regno, went on to teach. So he's learned, he learned from Bob, he learned from the best, and now he's teaching in local universities. That institutional knowledge is being passed down. I think back when the art department was back by his office, and when I first started working here, his daughters were young, and he had their drawings up on the shelving, and they were like little notes, "Dear Dad, love Jess, love Leah," and they're still hanging there. There's one still hanging there, and I think back those girls are grown up, and he is a granddaughter, and it's been a long time. It's been a long time, but
it's amazing. He dedicated his life to this company.
Yeah. Yes. Penn State grad. Grew up right around here in Kingston, went to Wyoming Valley West High School, and then started his whole career here at the station.
Was he like Johnny A, fresh out of high school, working here? Or?
No, he went to Penn State main campus.
Okay.
Yeah, he graduated from Penn State.
Was this his first job? Did he come from another station?
I think this is his first job.
Right.
Don't quote me on that, but I think this is his first. I think this is his only job. Yeah.
And again, he rose up through the ranks.
He rose up through the ranks. Bob is very hard on himself and very particular that his stuff has to be perfect. He has, he's such a professional, and perfect is the only option. He holds himself to a very high standard, a very high standard.
And like you said, to replace someone with 40 plus years of experience, you can't.
I don't know how we replace Bob because he's held so many hats. Even now, he fixes things. He helps light things. He taught me how to light. He taught me how to set up a scene and use the correct lighting. Whenever I've needed somebody's opinion or to bounce an idea off of anyone, I go right to Bob. He's excellent at directing, producing, writing, editing, shooting, does it all. Yeah.
Production supervisor.
Okay. So looking at me, how do you replace someone after 44 years? Is that what it is roughly?
Well, you don't replace someone. Let me tell you my first impression of Bob Bradley. 1985, I walk into the newsroom. Back then, it's hard to believe these days, but back then there weren't a lot of women. And there was a keep the broads out of broadcasting back then. I walk in on a Saturday and there's Bob Bradley, he's our director. Guy's got long hair, he's standing behind the switcher, he's smoking, he's drinking a can of Coke, and he's got no shoes on. And that's how Bob directed every show for those few months that he had to direct a 6 o'clock and 11 o'clock weekend show. Obviously things have changed since then and Bob has become almost indispensable. It's sad that he has to leave us, but I'm so happy for him. I don't know what we're going to do for the parade. Him, Mark Albrecht, Joe Butash, nobody had to lead them. They knew exactly what to do. I'm really going to miss you, Bob. Take care. Have a great retirement. See you soon.
Again, that's like Becky said. Bob was so reliable. It was like clockwork. He went to all these outside functions. I saw him at the Bloomsburg Fair.
Yep.
I was involved with some of your PA live shoots. I mean, when you know Bob's there, everything's going to go smooth because he's done it a million times.
He's done it a million times. He knows exactly what to bring. He knows how to set it up. He knows what the audio levels are supposed to be. He knows what the switcher is supposed to look like. You didn't have to worry.
And I remember it snowed on us at Courthouse Square. He was prepared for the snow.
Yep, he was prepared for the snow. He knew how to put up that tent on Courthouse Square for the parade. Nobody else is going to know how to do that. So, God help us.
JACKWISE.
And a proper title would be what?
Jack Wise Interiors. I've worked with Bob probably over 25 years, and Bob has always been the director, you know, when we do a commercial. But Bob he's really remained a close friend, like Andy, and he's been a friend for years, and he'll always be a lifelong friend.
What's special about him? Because again, there's so many other production companies out there. You could have went to them.
Oh, yeah, just his knowledge. You know, he goes to different seminars, and he always comes back with something new. Yeah.
Okay, Jane Ann Bugda, JAYNE ANNBUGDA.
And this is for Mark's purposes, obviously, Jane's space. And your title for this would be what?
Executive Producer, Special Projects. And 7 o'clock producer.
Okay. So, we're here talking about two guys that have been here a long time, that their institutional knowledge just can't be replaced. Where do we begin, Jen?
Well, we begin with, I started with Bob Bradley, who was my first director here on the weekends when I first started. And I learned a lot from Bob. He directs in a different style. He stood up directing, was very calm. And as a young producer, it was nice to have someone there. And at the time, it was just a few more years experience than that he was on the job. But it was nice to have Bob there. You know, his calming effect while directing, as for a young producer, was cherished. I learned a lot from him, and I really enjoyed working weekends. We had a lot of fun. You know, starting off in the news business, it was a challenging time. It was a fun time, and having someone there like Bob Bradley was wonderful. So, and then through the years, I got to work with Bob on, I remember looking back, our first flood special was back, that he was the director of it, and that was many years ago. And then through the years working with Bob throughout the years on different projects and stuff like that. And then he moved into the commercial end of the business. And I still see him once in a while talk. We talked about old times, and it was nice always having him here. He's a calming presence for everyone. And I think everyone should be grateful that they had an opportunity to work with Bob.
And like you said, he seems to touch every facet of this business, because even me, if I needed something, go see Bob.
Go see Bob. Yeah, I remember one time I needed a ramp built for my Newsmaker set. And Bob built it for me. It was just, I just had to ask him, and he built me the ramp. So he's our go-to guy for everything, and he will be missed. And when you asked me about Dave Becker, I know Dave Becker before I came to WBRE, because Dave was working at a radio station, WAZL and WVCD, and he had such a beautiful voice. You would hear his voice on the radio. And I was working at the time for the Sunday Independent in the Hazleton office, and I got to meet David. And at the time then I got a job up here at WBRE, WYOU. And David came afterwards. About a year after I started here, Dave Becker came along. And I always say Dave Becker's my right-hand man who sits at my left-hand side, because we sat in the same place for years. For 37 years, I sat by Dave Becker. So every day I am greeted by Dave Becker as I walk into the newsroom. And Dave is another person who he has a very calm personality. He's a great teacher. I admire him for teaching some of these young producers and interns. He has a lot of patience, and he's very intelligent. And the other thing is Dave has a great sense of humor. Dave and I have had a lot of laughs over the years. And you know, there's tons and tons and tons of stories that every time we talk, sometimes we'll think back for something and we'll start laughing because we'll remember something from, you know, the late 80s, the 90s, 2000, because, you know, he sat next to me, like I said, my entire career here. So that was something that, you know, I'm going to miss Dave greatly, because he was right next to me through my entire career here, whether he was producing, assignment editor. You know, he was morning shift, I was night shift. We see each other at night, and then we'd go around. Now again, we sit right next to each other every day.
Just to go back, did you run into him in the field when you were competing?
Well, he was at a radio station. I would work for the Sunday Independent, which was an old newspaper here at the time, and I was covering, you know, we'd cover stories. I'd see him, you know, maybe at a council meeting. And then we got to be friends, and then of course Andy Mahalchik as well. So the three of us, I came here first, and then Andy and then Dave came along, and they were the assignment editors, and then they grew into Andy a reporter, and of course Dave a producer. And it was just and I can't believe how the years have flown by so quickly. The years have flown by so quickly. You know, you look back and you think, I remember walking in here, you know, 37 years ago and being someone new in this field now, and now we're coming to this age where, you know, Dave is going to be, you know, beginning the next chapter of his life, and I will miss him, and I think our newsroom will miss him greatly.
Like you said, we are a family. We spend more time amongst us than our own family.
Right, we do. We spend holidays together, you know, we spend nights together, snowstorms together, rainstorms together, sunny days, not so great days in news together. But, you know, we are a family, and it's like, you know, you're going to be so used to seeing someone every day, and now, you know, he's going to be out there enjoying his retirement, and I wish him well, but, you know, I'll miss him.
Election night. Dave's always the guy.
Dave is the man who handles the numbers on election night. And that is a job in itself, you know, and I tip my hat to him, because you really need someone who is focused and understands numbers and understands, you know, pressure, high pace, you know, numbers coming in quickly. And on top of that, he explains what he's doing to a team of people who then, you know, who are then tabulating numbers as well. So, you know, when we look back at the early days of election, he was doing all the numbers, you know, adding them up, putting them in. Now we use a computer, but there are some races still that are small races that Dave, you know, tabulates, and man, that's a big part of our election coverage, and a big part of, you know, who we are here, and a big part of responsibility that Dave shouldered for many years.
Next election.
I don't know.
I think we covered a lot of good stuff.
Yeah, I know. Just that, you know, I wish Dave the best of luck, love, and happiness in the next chapter of his life. Same to Bob Bradley. They're two legends in our building, and two treasures, and two wonderful gentlemen who I had the great opportunity to work with and become friends with.
How are we all doing today? There's two guys in the room doing better than you. Right? 44 years for one and 37 years for the other. At the same place? Could that happen? That's fantastic. A round of applause. So I'll start off saying a couple things about Bob real quick. Bob has been here, he was just telling me about his first job, which I don't even know what it is. And I've worked in TV for 37 years myself. And I don't even know what were you doing with Phil?
Back in the day, we would air our sitcoms, Happy Days, MASH, on 16mm films. And you had to put little magnetic tabs after each segment so the film would stop and cue up after the break ran. And that was called screening films.
Okay, so that was his first job. So that was a few years ago. We don't do that anymore. But it's fantastic because he came, you know, he did a job like that, and then by the time he hit the early 1980s, he was full-time in commercial production. But he's also been a director at the TV station, done a lot of different positions here that all revolved around production. How many parades do you think you've
23 St. Patrick's Day parades.
23. Okay.
And a couple Little League parades. Oh, well, we used to do the
Santa Parade.
The Veterans Day parade.
Yep.
We did probably 10 of those. And telethons.
And probably you probably average, you know, 10 or 12 commercials per month over that.
Made a lot of
with the fast ones and the slowest. I can't imagine. So, you know, a commercial's about 30 seconds. You probably did about 400 hours of commercials.
Some weeks we just spit them out, you know.
Isn't that crazy? That's fantastic. Well, congratulations. You've done quite a lot of good for a lot of businesses in this community too, right? Putting them on the map and telling great positive stories about them. We have a couple of the advertisers are here to say hello and to reminisce. But fantastic job. So I hope you have a wonderful time in retirement. I hope the two of you get along really well when you're together all day long. I know I'm afraid of retiring because of that, right? With my wife. But congratulations and thank you so much for all you've done, right? Not to be outdone with 44 versus 37, but 37 is a long time, right?
He was a veteran when I started here.
So I know. So what was your first job at the station?
I was a production assistant, and I would run the prompter because you had to tape all the scripts together, and I would log feeds. We didn't have a VOD. So the water skiing squirrel would come down at 3:27, and the maps of the weather would be it. And log all that stuff, yeah.
So I remember the things you remember because about when I started. So I remember doing stuff like that. Yep. That's crazy. Okay.
And on the assignment desk on the weekends too. That's what I also did.
Perfect. So now, how long have you been a producer at the TV station?
I'm not sure. Probably about 34 or 35 years.
Do you remember the day that happened? Did somebody come up and say, "Oh my gosh, somebody called out. We need a producer"?
Well, no, it was but we had a producer here named Jerry Fritz, who was a real sharp guy, and he took a job at CNN, and he gave a beefy time frame where he was leaving, and he kind of taught me, and Jane Ann took me under her wing, and yeah, that's how it all started. Jerry Fritz, he was a good guy too. Yeah.
Well, from the time I've been here, you've been very heavily in charge of taking care of some of the really important TV shows on our TV station, trying to help us build a great lead in. I'm happy to report that you're going out at a really high note. Those shows that you put together are doing a fantastic job. We were just up there like in amazement today, looking at our second-by-second reports and looking at how we've really built the audience going from the 5 o'clock news into the 6 o'clock newscast. So, but both of you guys have made a big mark on this place. And you've been through many remodels and many general managers and a lot of different changes, different ownership, separate TV stations, combined TV stations.
Yeah.
And you guys have been two of the things that have been extremely consistent through this place for a long time. And we hope you have just a wonderful time out there when you get to go out and celebrate and do your own thing every single day. So how about a big round of applause? For part of Bob's career, he worked for Becky. And Becky, do you want to say anything about?
I do.
Have anything you want to say?
I wrote it down, and I'm going to try not to cry.
She's going to cry. She's going to cry. You can do it. You can do it. You've got this.
So, I think you're just stepping. Okay. I was asked the other day how to describe Bob Bradley. It was very difficult. How do you put into a few sentences everything he has done here in the last 44 years? Producer, director, photographer, editor, writer, the voice behind many commercials, lunch connoisseur, an expert on live broadcasts, telethons, parades, lighting, set building, and marketing. He can make and fix anything. Bob, I need a puppy bowl set. Done. Bob, that piece of wood on the roof that blocks the sun next to the green wall, it's broken. Fixed. Bob, chase Josh O'Dell around Scranton in the heat for a promo. No problem. He shot Survivor auditions, Big Brother, America's Got Talent, Amazing Race casting calls. We just had to make sure there was lunch and a great parking space. See, even after listing all those things, I still don't think it accurately summarizes the wealth of industry knowledge and experience that is Bob Bradley. For nearly 26 years, whenever I had a problem or a conundrum or I just needed advice, I went to Bob. And for 13 of those years, I sat outside his office making news graphics and being confused for a secretary. It was then that I realized everyone in this building at some point needed Bob Bradley. Around 8 years ago, I went from being the kid in the art department to his boss. And he supported me every step of the way with respect. He has supported my decisions and has put it bluntly when he didn't. Bob tells it like it is, sometimes a little too much. Beneath that tough exterior is a person who takes tremendous pride in his work. He puts 150% into everything he does. He has clients he calls lifelong friends, people who trust him, value him, and love him. His retirement is our loss. I'm now tasked with finding his replacement. And Andy Wyatt was not too happy with how long it took me to post the job. The truth is, I didn't know what to put in the job description. Because to describe what he does here, I don't know, it's too difficult. I love you. I'm gonna miss you. From the mayor of Wilkes-Barre. I can't read it. I'll cry even harder. So you better come back and visit and take me out to lunch. A lot.
That's really cool.
Very nice. All right, so I get to talk about Dave. And how appropriate is it that we are going to do this today in the PA Live studio? The very place where Dave produced the first newscast, the first PA Live, which is really cool. This wasn't the location, was it? Or was it?
It was a different set, but this is the location, yeah.
So pretty cool that right here he got to do this, a vision that he got to create, and something that, as you know, you come up with these concepts, you come up with these ideas, but it really takes someone like Dave to produce something like that. I did the same thing when I was coming up. Andy said, hey, we got to move sports. We got to move sports as our lead in. And I said, oh, we got a great sports guy. We got all this stuff going. I gave him 100 reasons why. and like most things, Andy said, all right, you got to move sports. So I thought, what are we good at? Who are we? And I thought about Dave, and I thought about his skills, and we came up with a closer look. And when I presented it to him, I said, look, this is a little bit half-baked, but I want to do this thing that I thought you would be really good at. And, you know, and talking to Tim goes, producer of the Onion newspaper would be your dream job. It would, right? It would be the cool thing to do.
Yep, it would be.
And so he has taken some of that, and when you watch a closer look, it's a little bit of who he is. And it's like unique stories, and they're fun to talk about. And Candace and Nick get to have the coolest assignment because they get to talk about some of these cool things that come out of Dave's mind. Everything from Napoleon's hat to like really cool stories and really cool video. And that closer look is sort of like sitting down with Dave. You're having a chance to sit down and talk with him. And anybody who's been in this newsroom, anybody who's talked or come in, that's one of your takeaways, right? You get a closer look of sitting and meeting with Dave. Now, this is not his obituary. This is not saying goodbye forever. We've said to Dave multiple times, including in my office, you sure you don't want to change your mind? You look like you're having fun out there. And Dave has repeatedly said, no, I'm really going to leave. But every day he's here, he has fun. And he enjoys his job, and it shows. And we all benefit from it. So that being said, we too got this proclamation of 37 years. It says great things about you that I too am not going to read, but this is very deserving. Right?
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
Perry Sook sends his best to both of you. I let him know because
he's not here.
I think Perry. No, Perry's not. Perry was unable to make it, but he wanted me to be sure that I said that he really appreciates the service you guys put into the company. And boy, have you guys seen a lot of stuff since it became his company. Since all that happened too, right? So
absolutely.
I wanted to make sure I mentioned that. Does anybody else have anything that they would like to say about working with these two fine men?
Please don't.
Bob, who are you going to put in charge of yelling at people that park in front of you?
Certain things rub me the wrong way. That's one of them.
But not anymore.
Not anymore.
A lot of people here owe a lot to what they've gotten knowledge-wise from the two of you, so thank you so much. If anybody else has anything to say? Andy does.
Of course.
There we go.
Just want to say, when I started here in '85, when Dave and I started at the same time, we weren't a competing radio station, but radio really mattered. And really competitive, right? So Dave and I knew each other from Hazelton Radio. So he worked his assignment desk one day on Sunday, I worked on a Saturday. So think about it, we're competing during the week, but on the weekends we're on the same team.
Yeah.
And we became friends. And I just want to say, we could do all war stories, but it was great to go to battle with you all these years.
Thank you, Andy.
Everything's not Disney World, we all know that. But knowing that there was somebody solid doing your position, doing all of our jobs, knowing that we were really a solid team, working with you was great.
Thank you.
I wish you well during retirement, and when's your last day now? Next?
21st.
Okay, so we still have to get some kind of Emmy award.
All right, deal. That's fine with me.
No, so it was great and an honor to work with you, Dave.
Thank you, Andy. The honor was mine. And I remember standing in the hallway at the Hazelton City Hall after a council meeting, and you were going, I'm getting married this weekend. And I was like, what? You're this weekend? And I was like, yeah. I'm nervous about it. I was like, yeah, I would be too.
And that's like eons ago. I'm married 40 years now.
Yeah.
And with Dave and with Bob, I was a weekend assignment editor, real quick. Bob was the director on the weekends.
Yep.
And here I am, this young kid trying to start out, and working with Bob Bradley up there, like the maestro, ENG.
Stand up and direct notes.
Yep.
He was. And I was just so impressed with the professionalism. Bob was really the first veteran I worked with on production. And it was just great to work with Bob and the talent. You know, so we're gonna miss you guys here. It was great serving our community together and working as part of a team. So congratulations to both of you guys. It was my honor working with both of you for a long time.
Thank you.
Good stuff.
Thank you, Andy. Appreciate it.
I have more of a question than a comment for both of the wives of the retirees.
Is this a trick?
Dave needs a part-time job. You could be a consultant, you know.
Yep.
Done.
Fair enough.
I suggested that too. Bob.
See?
We're on the same path.
Don't say that. He'll be producing New Year's Day. How do you feel about working the overnight?
Been there, done that. Yeah.
Dave, what was your biggest story?
It would either be 9/11 or the pandemic, one or the other. Yeah, they were both monster, huge. Well, that was a big story, but not as big as those two. You know, I mean, 9/11. I mean, during the morning show, I was telling you that we went open to end without any commercial breaks for 4 or 5 days. But then the pandemic changed everything, and absolutely, that was one of those two. I'm not sure which one. It would be a coin toss on that. So, yeah.
Bob, what was your favorite job here?
I like making commercials, probably. A lot of it has to do with the fact that some of it's objective, but a lot of it is subjective, and when you can really put your own twist on something. So mostly I'd say that over the years.
And Bob's voice will continue on in commercials.
Yeah.
Thank God for the voiceover companies that you just email, the voice shows up.
There's still a few out there with your voice on them, isn't there?
There is a few.
Is there a shoot that's a commercial shoot that stood out to you in a bad or a good way? Just a memorable one?
I want to say, maybe you guys can help. The United Penn Lions, you remember them? The Lions? Well, we had lions in the studio and we made a commercial.
Oh, actual lions.
Actual lions. For what was then the United Penn Bank. I guess,
would you rent them?
The director.
800 dial rental.
I got to jump in.
Go ahead.
I had to come today because I couldn't believe that these two kids were retired. It just seems surprising because, see, I started with 22 part-time in the 60s. So I think I predated you.
Yeah, a little bit.
And they're still digging out some of my file, trying to see if it's accurate or not. But I just wanted to say that being in the field, I didn't get to work with you all that much on a direct basis. But I want to say to you two, who, as you leave, and the others who are here in behind-the-scenes activities, I thank you from the bottom of my heart for making those of us on the air look like stars. Because without you, we'll be nothing, absolutely nothing. Cameramen, directors, producers.
Yeah. Thank you.
I want to wish you the very best. If you have a retirement anything like mine, get ready. You're going to be like on a roller coaster ride, busier than ever. Believe me, but God bless you and good luck.
Thank you, David. Thanks for coming.
Becker has made me a sum of money.
You're going to pay me back?
If you go to any church throughout northeastern Pennsylvania and beyond, you'll hear Dave Becker's voice, because I created a thing called Night at the Races. And Dave is the voice of every horse race. He took that home, and what I did, I used to have all the closed circuit rights at Pocono Downs. And I was in New York, and a guy had films he would project it to churches. And I thought, hey, I called all around the country. It was a 2-year project, and Dave says, yeah, I'll voice it for you. He went down and studied every one of those horses. I sent you home with copies of it, didn't you?
Yeah, I remember.
And it's great. I know who did the production, because each race came from a different track throughout the country. So I needed to bond these into one common format. Here's the guy that did it for me right
You still using that? That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I just heard him in the last month. Fundraiser out in the background.
What's that?
I just heard Dave's voice.
Oh, did you?
in the
Yeah,
last
because,
month.
If anybody wants a tip on who wins the third race, come and see me.
He's not allowed to bet.
He's out of go because I know who won.
Anybody else?
Bob, can we call you on March 10th about 6:30 a.m.?
9 to 5 you could call.
No, we need you about 6:30 on that day.
Now, what did you?
March 10th.
March, oh, no. don't-
Last day.
No.
Last day he's allowed to have.
I finally figured out what you said. No, that's all right.
Now, do you want the 28 or the 22?
Ooh, well, that's a tough question. I think I grew up at 22 or 28, excuse me. So I guess I would be 28. You know, I remember you directing my shows, and I was terrified of you. I was terrified of you and Charlie and Schlen.
Don't mess with a Schlen, my
friend. We had a director here. His name was, remember Joe Schlenner?
Yeah.
And they called him the Wicked Schlen. And he was just really... Uh-oh. I'll be right back.
Well, I started getting migraines in December of '85, so I met Andy.
Shut up. Thank you
well-
so much. Real. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
He's not allowed to have any, is he?
I don't know. We'll let him have some.
Okay. Oh, here you are. Hi, Rich.
David, I'm not handling your
In other action in the Wyoming Valley Conference tonight, Tunkhannock knocks off Coughlin 14-7. Dave Becker covered that action and files this highlight report.
After jumping out to a 7-0 lead, Tunkhannock was on the move again. In a 4th and 5 situation, Scott Davies hits Justin Mingus for 27 yards to keep the drive going. Davies winds up again from the 19-yard line and tosses this bomb to Luke Maribel in the end zone, making it 12-0 Tunkhannock. Tunkhannock goes to the air as Ed Mason makes the grab for the 2-point conversion. Tunkhannock's on top 14-0 with 11-11 in the second quarter. Now it's the Crusaders' turn as Floyd Witherspoon takes the handoff and goes off tackle for the 16-yard touchdown. With 9:59 in the second, the Tigers are on top 14-7.
To put them in the lead, Tunkhannock has used the aerial attack. Now, if the Crusaders have any chance of winning this one, their defense has to knuckle down in the second half to win this conference game.
But it was Tunkhannock's defense that won the game. In the fourth quarter, the Tigers' Mike Brock recovers this fumble. Tunkhannock goes on to win 14-7.
Real happy for my kids. They could have packed it in. We really haven't had the kind of season that we wanted, but our seniors really did a nice job. I think Billy James and Joey Rinkus ran the ball well. Defensively, our kids came to play. I'm real happy about that.
Dave Becker for Eyewitness Sports.
In other action tonight, O'Reilly beats Columbia Montour by a pair.
On the first day of Christmas,
my true love gave to me
a partridge in a pear tree.
On the second day of Christmas, my true love gave to me
2 turtle doves
and a partridge in a pear tree.
On the third day of Christmas,
my true love gave to me
3 French hens,
2 turtle doves
and a partridge in a pear tree.
On the fourth day of Christmas,
my true love gave to me
4 calling birds, 3 French hens,
2 turtle doves
and a partridge in a pear tree.
On the fifth day of Christmas,
my true love gave to me
5 golden rings,
4 calling birds, 3 French hens,
2 turtle doves,
and a partridge in a pear tree.
On the sixth day of Christmas,
my true love gave to me 6 geese a laying,
5 golden rings,
4 calling birds,
3 French hens, 2 turtle doves,
and a partridge in a pear tree.
On the seventh day of Christmas,
my true love gave to me
7 swans a swimming,
6 geese a laying,
5 golden rings,
4 calling birds, 3 French hens,
2 turtle doves,
and a partridge in a pear tree.
On the 8th day of Christmas, my true love gave to me
8 maids of milk, 7 swans a swimming,
6 geese a laying, 5 golden rings,
4 calling birds, 3 French hens,
2 turtle doves,
and a partridge in a pear tree.